Good evening. I'd like to call to order the August 8th, 2023 regular board meeting. If all would like to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll have a brief moment of silent meditation. And Mr. Longwell, roll call.
Mr. Bradley. Here. Mr. Burkhardt.
Here.
Mr. Hartman.
Present.
Dr. Lebo.
Here.
Mrs. Maris.
Here.
Ms. Morgan.
Here.
Dr. Rhodes. Mr. Steinker. Here. And Mr. Rupp.
Here. And 1.05, endorsement of agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda, Mr. Longwell?
There are no changes or additions, Mr. Rupp, and the agenda will otherwise stand as written.
1.06, reading of minutes, regular board meeting of June 13th, 2023. Any board members have any alterations or corrections to the meeting, to the minutes?
Just one on page 3. I'm Mr. Maris.
Again.
Not.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Maris, we will correct that.
It would have been funny if you put a Mr. Maris there.
I apologize, Mrs. Maris.
Not a problem.
Any other corrections to the minutes? All right. Move on to item 2, hearing of visitors. There'll be 2 opportunities for public comment this evening. As a reminder, public comment is limited to residents of the school district. At this time, we have reached the first opportunity for public comment. This opportunity is reserved for comments related to items that are listed on the evening's agenda for a vote. A second opportunity for public comment will occur at the end of the meeting. The second opportunity for public comment is reserved for comments on issues not listed on the agenda and not being voted upon. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and requires community members to observe a reasonable decorum. If you'd like to address the board, please show your name and district address at the podium. And this is for items that are being voted on at tonight's meeting. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, reports and presentations. Item 3.01, Superintendent of Schools report, Dr. Leidy.
Welcome back and Happy New Year. It is August and 'tis the season for a lot of excitement in the district. I feel like rejuvenated this time of year, and the energy, you can just feel it beginning to build from August 1 on. Next Monday, the 14th, our new teachers will be coming in for the first of a week-long of induction days, and we're hoping that you can join us that afternoon for a luncheon to meet the new teachers. This is one of the largest classes that we've had since I've been in the district, and we're very excited about the quality of individuals that are be coming into our classrooms, and you'll have an opportunity to see that. On the 21st, all teachers are coming back due to the fact that we have construction at the high school. Opening day will be held at the middle school this year and in the auditorium. Always a day full of energy and excitement as we get ready for then the big day, which is August 28th, the first day for students to return to the district, and that's when the magic starts to happen with our kids. So this is a big month, as you know, very busy month, lots of meetings and preparations for that first day of school, which is just a few weeks away at this point. So that's all I have for this evening.
All right, thank you, Dr. Leidy. Any questions for Dr. Leidy on this report? On to item 3.02, Capital Area Intermediate Unit, Mr. Bradley.
There was no meeting in July, just some email correspondence about programs that they were putting together and some things that they were establishing. Just as we're getting ready for the new year, they were the IU is starting to put the final touches on some of the programs to offer on the programs. The next meeting will be scheduled on the 24th of this month, which I'll be attending.
Very good. And I'd just like to remind everybody on the board, Mr. Bradley will be cycling off the board as he did not seek re-election, so we will need a rep for the I-duty unit beginning in December. So it is something that does require at least that one meeting a month, during the day, so. On to item 3.03, Cumberland Perry Area Career and Technical Center report, Mr. Sanker.
Thanks. The JOC met on June 26th and had a special meeting on July 24th. Both of those were, well, the one was regular meeting, the second meeting was as we were looking for more information from Crabtree regarding the contract for the next phase of work for the CTC expansion project. So that ultimately was approved in July, and so moving forward with them, and then the next couple of there's a ton of steps between now and then, but that continues to move forward, which is a good thing for all the students in the CTC region. Other than that, the rest of the JOC meeting was routine agenda items related to end of year and personnel and staffing. We've been dealing with that kind of in between meetings, as we usually do. The next meeting is August 28th, and I plan to attend that.
All right, any questions for Mr. Sanker? Mr. Sanker, thank you for the report. Item 3.04, PSBA legislative report. I have no formal report, as there's been very little legislative activity. I have been out of the state for the last 7 weeks, so maybe somebody could update me on the budget.
Budget passed.
So that did pass? Like, I've been totally
Last
out of it. I just got home yesterday. So. I know when we talked, it had not yet passed.
We're
so.
still waiting for the appropriations to go through, and that's lagging a little bit, which is causing some questions around some ancillary programs that, for instance, pre-K counts that we run through the district. We don't know for sure, and
Right.
so that's really creating some issues there with, do we start that program, do we not start that program? I could not recommend to the board that if that money's not there, that the board picks that up. That's a $500,000 price tag to it. So just keeping our fingers crossed. There's some other things like that, but for the most part, we're confident that we can sustain until that happens.
So do you think we're gaining any more funds for the school district at all?
It does look like, I mean, if the board recalls, in 2022-23, the year that we just concluded, that was I would say, one of the largest increases in recent memory for school districts, public school districts. It looks and appears that another large increase is probably coming toward public school districts here for 23-24. And then to Dr. Letty's point, there's still some fine tuning. They have made progress, but there's still some fine tuning of what's the distribution of some of these monies look like, and there's some other ancillary bills that be passed, and so that's what we're kind of monitoring at this point, things like pre-K or certain other funding streams, but it does look like there will be some good news on the horizon for school districts and where they're at. But we'll return to the board with another update once we have more details around those specific amounts and how that compares to the budget. So,
Are we anticipating any more with like special ed or anything like that?
yeah, I think special education funding and basic education funding were both priorities in the governor's budget. I think the legislature did come through with probably more generous funding levels than they had in even prior years. Maybe not, I mean, last year aside, right, which was probably historic for a lot of reasons. But I think, again, for 23-24, what they're working to finalize, whatever those final allocations are, I think will again be probably a larger increase than what has been typical, which I think is good news for school districts and ultimately will help us as we kind of really begin to look in the fall and winter at the next year's budget, 24-25. So.
And free breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah, the biggest issue continues to be vouchers by any other name, right? But it's always comes back to redirecting public dollars to other schools, and that seems to be the biggest hang-up that's out there.
There seems to be conversation more about cyber too, more so than ever.
Yeah, So I don't know, obviously the behind closed doors conversations, but those appear to be linked hand in hand with each other, unfortunately. And so if you're gonna have a conversation about charters, then there needs to be a conversation about vouchers, and neither side wants to negotiate too much there. That's my personal opinion. I don't know anything more than what's in the news about that.
So is the general lump sum approved, and now it's just a matter of
Yeah.
how they're gonna allocate that to these different,
So,
which could affect our funding, just on our basic education fund.
probably not.
So that
Um,
pretty much
the-
should be in stone.
Yeah, the governor line item vetoed essentially the vouchers. I think they were called, this time they were called pass or something, but they just keep coming back under different names, but it's always vouchers.
Other questions on the budget or any other legislative matter? Move on to item 3.05, Finance Facilities Committee Report, Mr. Sanger.
The committee did not meet in June, so we have no report.
And item 3.06, Board President Report. We did not meet in July, so I have no additional report. Move on to item 5, New Business, Athletic Recreation, item 5.01, Dr. Lebo.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the athletic game help appointments for the 2023-2024 school year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 6, New Business, Budget and Finance, item 6.01, Treasurer's Report, Ms. Morgan.
Just screwed up my thing. Trying to make it bigger. Sorry. I'd like to ask the board to approve the treasurer's report for July 2023. Number 2 is the board budget report for July 2023. Number 3 is the general fund invoices paid June 14th, 2023 through June 30th, 2023. Check number 66236 through 66398 in the amount of $320,342.73. Number 4 is the general fund invoices paid July 1, 2023, August 7th, 2023, check number 66399 through 66631 in the amount of $1,875,503.60. Number 5 is electronic payments in the amount of $3,571,416.09. 6 is the general fund invoices payable, check number 66632 through 66651 in the amount of $236,891.43. 7 is the capital reserve fund invoices paid July 1st, 2023 through August 8th, 2023, check number 1859 through 1862 in the amount of $72,276.50. Number 8 is a series of 2020 construction fund invoices paid through June 30th, 2023, check number 264 through 265 in the amount of $5,521.44. Number 9 is the series of 2020 construction fund invoices paid July 1 through 2023 through August 8th, 20. I think there's typos, that's 22, 23. Check number 266 through 268 in the amount of $11,330.87. Number 10 is a series of 2022 construction fund invoices paid through June 30th, 2023. Check number 102 through 117 in the amount of $2,352,429.88. Number 11 is the series of 2022 construction fund invoices paid July 1, 2023 through August 8th, 2023. Check number 118 through 129 in the amount of $5,601,956.89. Number 12 is the SAF and TF quarterly board report from March through June 2023. And lastly, number 13, the investment portfolios.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the treasurer's report? Mr. Longwell?
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 6.02, Mr. Burkhardt.
I ask the board to approve the transportation services contract with Assist Services LLC as per the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 6.03, Mr. Bradley.
I'd ask the board to approve the tax policies report as presented in the attachment.
Do we have a second? Any further conversation? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 7, new business, curriculum. Item 7.01, Mrs. Maris.
I make a motion for the board to approve the student services contracts as presented in the attachment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 7.02, Mrs. Maris.
Make a motion for the board to approve submission of the targeted support and improvement plan for the middle school, pending no further adjustments resulting from community feedback.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 9, new business, personnel. Item 9.01, Mrs. Morgan. Ms. Morgan.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the
Go ahead.
to approve the personnel report as per the attachments.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further conversation? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 9.02, Ms. Morgan.
I ask the board to approve the athletic retiree service contracts for 2023 through 2024.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'm sure we've seen this before, but is this, these are retired school, retired teachers or people? Staff, that's the word I couldn't think of. These are retired staff that would link up with the item that we voted on or discussed in 5.01.
Athletic help?
The
Yes.
athletic game help.
The distinction just being that because they were retirees of PEASers and annuitants, that we have to kind of approve them as their own retiree service contract, acknowledging that what they're doing in event help is different than what their positions were when they were still active full-time employees. So to your point, said another way, they would be an athletic help if they weren't retirees.
Okay, great, thank you. Appreciate it.
So that's not a requirement that they be former employees.
But if they are and they're collecting retirement, it can't be the same position that they were in.
Thank you.
Further questions? Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 9.03, Ms. Morgan.
I would like to ask the board to appoint teacher leaders for the 2023-2024 school year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any conversation? 9.03. Mr. Longwell.
Unless I hear a negative response, I'll record the roll call as a unanimous vote.
Item 12.01. We have reached the second opportunity for public comment. This opportunity is reserved for comments on issues not listed on the agenda and not being voted upon this evening. As a reminder, public comment is limited to residents of the school district. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per individual and requires community members to observe a reasonable decorum. If you'd like to address the board, please come up to the podium and share your district name and address. Any comments on items not being voted on?
Good evening. My name is Karen Overly Smith, and my address is 855 Oak Oval, and I'm in Region 2 of the school district. And I had a question. I'm a volunteer tax preparer, and recently the governor signed off to expand the rebates for elders and people on disability. And the eligibility is now up to 45,000, and the rebate went from 600 to a maximum of 1,000. And the comments in the articles were that fewer and fewer people are applying for it. And I just wondered, what would be the impact on the township? And also, since we do volunteer and free tax returns, a lot of times people pay, and the cost to do a tax return might be equal to the rebate they would get. But if you get it free from AARP or VITA, some of these United Way free tax programs, people can still get these rebates, but I don't know if they always know about it. And I would like to know from the school district, do you see an impact? How does that rebate impact the school district? That's my question.
Yeah, so I would love to answer that question for you, but give you more detail than what I can do right now. So if you can just stick around afterwards, I'll connect you with Mr. Longwell and we'll get that for you.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, ma'am. Other public comment?
Hi, my name's Helena Cicero. I live in Brown Township. And I'm really here because my son just graduated. His name's John Cicero, Jack. And I think it's important to say when things that are good that happen. And you have some amazing teachers that work in your district. And sorry. I just wanted to recognize a couple of them for just how impactful they were on his education. So I'm just going to say a couple of names. Mr. Marshall was one of his teachers for AP chemistry, and he kind of acted as almost a counselor to him, like academic counselor. Mr. Shoemaker taught physics and AP physics and helped with the production team on the musical, and just loved on the kids in his room for hours a day. Mrs. Gonder taught a couple of calculus classes and was a phenomenal teacher. Mrs. Whitman, also phenomenal. And those are all high school. He had a lot of really good teachers early on. The one I want to just point out was Mrs. Wiley in 5th grade. She saw him and got him in a way that other teachers hadn't. So I just wanted to say their names to you guys and let you know that you have some amazing staff in this district. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Robert Schaefer, 904 Peachtree Drive, Upper Island Township. I wasn't planning to talk, but just the comments at the beginning about the state budget just reminded me that earlier this year there was a lot of talk in the legislature, outside the legislature, about reserves that school districts have. And while it appears that the worst case scenario has been averted, what's happened this summer certainly shows the need to have some reserves, right? It could easily have been if the state Senate had not come back into session last week. You know, we're not coming back till September. Mm-hmm. If they had not come back, you would have had to draw on your reserves. And even though they did come back, as was mentioned, there's still, I think they call it fiscal code enabling legislation, something like that, which has not yet been signed off. So in likelihood, things will work out, but yeah, too much reserves is a problem, but certainly this summer shows that school districts such as yours, ours, are acting responsibly in holding on to some reserves.
Thank you, Bob. Any other public comment on items that were not being voted on tonight? Seeing none. Item 13, Ms. Morgan.
I'd like to ask the board to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.